All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're going to be doing a deep dive into Able Heights STEAM learning program for teens. You know, those 12 to 18-year-olds just figuring out what they want to do in life. And judging from their program synopsis, Able Heights really seems to get that. They're going beyond just the science and tech stuff, looking at the whole person.
Yeah, they start out with this pretty impressive statistic. 80% of their students report increased STEAM skills and knowledge after finishing the program. That's pretty big.
Yeah?
Makes you wonder what they're doing that's different to get results like that.
Well, their mission statement is pretty bold. It says, empowering students with practical STEAM skills, cultural relevance, and exposure to diverse role models, fostering enthusiasm and potential career pathways. It's a mouthful, but you can tell they're thinking outside the textbook.
Definitely. They're linking STEAM learning to actual real-world stuff and possible careers, which is key for keeping teens interested. And that focus on cultural relevance shows a real understanding of how to make learning click with them.
So it's not just these theoretical concepts. They're showing kids how STEAM actually impacts their lives, their communities, even their cultural heritage, making it personal and relatable.
Yeah, and looking at their 4 core values.
Hmm.
Education and skill development, diversity and inclusion, mentorship and support, and empowerment and leadership. You see that holistic approach coming together. They're not just trying to churn out scientists and engineers. They're trying to raise well-rounded individuals, individuals who can lead and fight for positive change.
Well, they've got a really clear plan to do just that. 3 main goals laid out week by week. Goal number 1, enhance STEAM skills and knowledge. But here's where things get really interesting. No dry lectures and endless worksheets.
Right. You look at the program versus goal timeline chart, and they've built in hands-on activities and real-world problem-solving right from week 3. For example, they have students design a sustainable community garden, using what they've learned about engineering and environmental science.
So cool. Taking those concepts from the books and giving kids a chance to use them in a hands-on way. No wonder they're getting such amazing results. Speaking of hands-on, their second goal is about fostering diversity and inclusion in STEAM.
And they're serious about it. It's woven throughout the whole program. Week 2, they have students explore the contributions of scientists and inventors from diverse backgrounds throughout history. Then week 5, they tackle equity in STEAM education, examining those barriers that are out there and brainstorming solutions.
They're not shying away from tough conversations. They're giving these young people the tools to be agents of change, not just passively absorbing information. And that leads right into their third goal, empowering leadership and advocacy in STEAM.
Exactly. This is where the leadership development wraps up, starting in week 4. They have workshops on communication skills, teamwork, and ethical decision-making in STEAM. Then in week 7, they introduce advocacy and help students pick a STEAM-related issue they're passionate about.
And it all comes together in week 10, a big final project. Students have to design and present a solution to the issue they chose, using everything they've learned.
Very cool.
That's really impressive, taking those leadership skills and putting them to work.
It's clear Able Heights has thought this through. But out of curiosity, what stood out to you the most so far?
Honestly, I'm really impressed with how they're weaving together practical skills, social awareness, and real-world applications. It's not just learning science or coding. It's about using that knowledge to make a real difference. And that's powerful. But I feel like we've only scratched the surface here.
Oh, yeah. There's a whole section on their approach to mentorship and the importance of guest speakers. We should definitely dig into that. It's not all about the structured stuff, though. Able Heights brings in guest speakers from different STEAM backgrounds for like 20% of the program. That's a big chunk of time dedicated to showing these kids what they could actually do, you know?
Yeah, that really stood out to me, too. It's one thing to learn about science and tech from a book, but it's totally different hearing from someone who's out there doing it, breaking barriers and making a difference.
Exactly. And it's not just any guest speakers. They're bringing in people from all kinds of backgrounds. Researchers, entrepreneurs, artists, activists, the whole range of STEAM careers. Like they're saying, hey, no matter who you are or where you're from, there's a place for you in STEAM.
That kind of representation is so important, especially for kids who might not see themselves in those typical STEAM fields. It's like planting a seed, a little spark of possibility, showing them they can do anything.
And that's where mentorship comes in. They really highlight how important it is to have mentors, people who can guide these students, answer questions, help them deal with the challenges of going for a STEAM career.
It's not just giving information, it's about support and encouragement, having someone believe in you, even when you doubt yourself. That kind of mentorship can change your life. especially for teens who maybe don't have that at home or in their community.
They even have this whole section in the document, STEAM program needs, where they point out what's really necessary for a program to succeed. It seems like they've really done their homework. They know what it takes to create a truly transformative learning experience.
And one thing that jumps out is how much they focus on hands-on learning. It's not enough to just read about science or tech, right? You got to experience it, get your hands dirty. That's how you really learn.
Totally agree. That's often missing in those traditional schools, especially in communities that don't have as many resources.
Able Heights is filling that gap, giving access to resources and technology that some kids wouldn't have otherwise, like 3D printers, robotics kits, VR headsets, tools that let them explore and create in ways we couldn't have imagined a few years ago. It's all about empowering them to become the next generation of innovators.
But even with all the best tech and resources, you still need that human element. That's why they highlight mentorship and support as crucial. It's about building a community of learners, a safe space to ask questions, share ideas, and support each other.
You know, listening to all this, I can't help but think back to when I was a teenager. I was so into science, but I didn't really have anyone to guide me, to show me what I could do with it. I wish I had something like Able Heights back then.
I know what you mean. A lot of people feel that way. It's all about sparking that passion, that curiosity, and then giving the tools and support to turn it into something you do your whole life. And that's what Able Heights seems to be doing so well.
They're not just teaching STEAM stuff, they're encouraging a love of learning, a desire to know more, and a belief that anything is possible. That's the most important lesson of all. But wait a second, we're getting ahead of ourselves. We haven't even talked about their focus on cultural competency. What do they mean by that?
That's a great question. And it actually connects to everything we've been talking about. Cultural competency, when we're talking about STEAM, it means understanding how different cultures approach things like problem solving and innovation, even how they define knowledge itself.
So it's not just teaching everyone the same things. It's about recognizing that everyone brings something different to the table, and all those different perspectives can make the whole field better.
Exactly. They're including those different cultural perspectives in the curriculum, bringing in guest speakers from diverse backgrounds, and encouraging students to explore how their own cultural heritage can shape their work in STEAM.
That's so important. It's about breaking down those barriers and old ideas about who belongs in STEAM and what kind of knowledge matters. It's about creating a more inclusive field where everyone can thrive.
It's amazing how much we've gotten out of just this one document. But the thing that really stands out for me is the thoughtfulness behind everything Able Heights is doing. They're not just throwing a bunch of STEAM activities together. This is a carefully planned program with a clear vision, and they clearly understand what it takes to build the next generation of STEAM leaders.
I completely agree. They've put so much thought and care into creating this amazing learning experience, and I have a feeling they're just getting started. But let's step back for a second and look at the bigger picture. What does a program like this mean for the future of STEAM education?
That's the big question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Able Heights is setting a new standard. They're showing what's possible when you approach STEAM education with purpose, creativity, and a real commitment to equity and inclusion.
They're showing that it's not just about teaching skills, it's about helping young people grow as individuals, nurturing a love of learning, and giving them the power to use their knowledge to make the world a better place.
And if more programs follow their lead, just imagine the impact. Imagine a world where every young person, no matter where they come from, has access to this kind of incredible STEAM education.
That's a future worth fighting for. But for now, let's bring it back to our listener. You wanted to understand what makes this program tick, and I think we've done a pretty good job outlining that.
We talked about their vision, goals, approach to learning, their emphasis on diversity and mentorship, even their specific program needs. But I'm curious, what's sticking with you? What parts of this program are really exciting or interesting to you?
That's a great question. And while you're thinking about that, remember that Able Heights put their contact info there for a reason. They want to hear from people who care about STEAM education.
So if you're inspired by what you heard today, don't be afraid to reach out. Their website is www.ableheights.com. And you can also email them at info@ableheights.com.
Who knows? You might start a conversation that leads to something amazing. But for now, we've come to the end of our deep dive into Able Heights' STEAM learning program. We hope you enjoyed the journey.
And we hope it's got you thinking about how STEAM education can help build a more equitable, innovative, and just world.
You know, as we wrap this up, it's really amazing how Able Heights balances all these different pieces in their program. They're not just about technical skills. They're looking at social responsibility, cultural awareness, personal growth.
It's like they figured out the secret sauce to making a STEAM learning experience that's well-rounded, one that gives students the knowledge and the skills to do well in STEAM,
Mm.
but also the empathy, critical thinking, leadership qualities to really make a difference in the world.
And they do it in a way that feels both new and super grounded. They're using cutting-edge technology and hands-on learning, but also remembering how important mentorship, community, and cultural understanding are.
It's that mix of the old and the new that makes it so interesting. They're preparing kids not just for jobs that exist now, but for the stuff we haven't even thought of yet.
And they're committed to making sure everyone has access to these opportunities, that equity and inclusion piece. We haven't talked about it directly, but it's woven into everything they do.
You're right. It's not just checking boxes. It's about making a space where everyone feels welcome, where they feel valued, like they can contribute their own unique ideas.
Yeah.
And you see that reflected in their curriculum, their guest speakers, their mentorship, everything.
Makes you think. What kind of impact could this have on a young person who never thought of themselves as a STEAM person before? Maybe they come from a place where STEAM careers aren't common, or maybe someone told them they're not good at math, or that science isn't for girls.
That's where seeing someone like you, someone from a similar background, doing well in STEAM can really make a difference. It can change those limiting beliefs, open up a whole world of new possibilities.
And having a mentor who believes in you, who guides you, helps you through the tough parts, that can change everything. It's about building confidence, feeling like you belong, like you can do it.
And that's what Able Heights is all about. It's not just teaching STEAM. It's encouraging that love of learning, that curiosity, and that belief that every young person can make a real difference.
So as we wrap up, let's leave our listener with this. If you're feeling inspired, if you believe in what STEAM education can do, how can you support programs like Able Heights? Maybe volunteer your time, donate some resources, or just tell people about the amazing work they're doing.
Every bit counts. And you never know. You might just set off a chain reaction. That leads to a brighter future for so many young people.
And that's it for our dip dive into Able Heights STEAM Learning Program. We hope you enjoyed exploring this incredible program with us.
And we hope it's giving you some food for thought about how STEAM education can help us build a better world, a world that's more equitable, more innovative, and more just.